Many people think that the story of Bananarama begins in the early 1980s in London, but in fact, the band's story began at Bristol's Lodway School with the strong childhood friendship of Sarah Dallin and Kieran Woodward. The girls disliked the mundane life in Bristol so much that they decided to run away to London together. In the British capital, their paths slightly separated. Dallin decided to get a degree in journalism and became a student at the London College of Fashion, and Woodward worked for the BBC in Portland Place. Life in the big city was not easy for both of them, and after a few months in London, the best friends almost became homeless. To help them came Paul Cook, with whom they became friends after a meeting at a club. Cook offered them a place to stay above the Sex Pistols' former rehearsal room in Denmark Street, Charing Cross. From that time onwards, Sarah Dallin and Kieran Woodward lit up with the dream of forming their own musical group. They were not destined to become a duo, because at university, Sarah was befriended by Siobhan Fahey. She was a young woman with a flamboyant style and ambition. Fahey also came to London not knowing exactly what she wanted to do, but her passion for music and common interests brought her together with Woodward and Dallin. Inspired by the punk rock and cultural changes of the late 70s and early 80s, Sarah, Karen, and Siobhan decided to form their own musical group. They took their name Bananarama, in part from the Roxy Music song Pajamarama. Their style combined elements of punk, pop, and new wave, which made them unique in the music scene. Their approach was unconventional because they didn't set out to be model singers or dancers. Their main desire was to create sincere music and express themselves. Before 1981, the band often performed improvised sets or backup vocals at concerts of bands such as the Monochrome Set, The Professionals, Subway Sect, Iggy Pop. Bananarama made their debut in 1981 when they recorded their first demo, Aye Amwana, a Swahili cover of the song Black Blood. The song became a real underground hit and reached number 92 in the British charts. British music magazine The Face published an article about Bananarama after the release of their first single. This caught the attention of former Specials member Terry Hall, who invited them to work with his new vocal group Funboy 3 on their album, and single It Ain't What You Do. The song reached the top 5 in the UK in 1982, and brought Bananarama its first major mainstream success. Later that year, Funboy 3 made a guest appearance on Bananarama's single, Really Saying Something. From this point on, the band's most successful period began. In 1982 and 1983, Bananarama made several promotional press tours in the US and television appearances, the first of which were on The Uncle Floyd Show and on American Bandstand and Solid Gold. The US trip also gave birth to the band's debut album, Deep Sea Skiving. The album was well received by critics and contained several hit singles, such as Really Saying Something Sour Shy Boy, and a cover version of Na Na, Hey 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 Kiss Him Goodbye. On the wave of success, a second album called Bananarama was released in 1984. The album was special because it was a more socially conscious effort. The band wanted to be taken more seriously, so they wrote songs that focused on heavier topics. For example, the song Hotline to Heaven Gado is a stance against the drugs are cool culture. Meanwhile, What a Rough Justice Via was written about Thomas Kidso Riley, the band's tour manager and brother of Faye's boyfriend Jim Riley, who was shot dead by a British soldier in Belfast in August 1983. The album also contained the hit singles Robert De Niro's Waiting, and their first top 10 hit in the US, Cruel Summer, which was featured in the movie The Karate Kid. The trio also recorded the single The Wildlife for the 1984 American film of the same name. In 1986, their third album, Mkwi True Confessions, was released, which is considered to be the band's most successful work. It was largely due to the #1 hit of the time, the song Venus. It was a remake of the 1969 Shocking Blue song, which had been a #1 hit in 1970. The song won the Juno Award in Canada as International Single of the Year, and the music video for the song Venus received major rotation on MTV in the United States. It featured the band in a variety of costumes, including those of the devil, a French seductress, a vampire, and Greek goddesses. The video marked a turning point towards a more glamorous and sexy image that contrasted with their boyish images in their earlier work. The follow-up singles, More Than Physical and A Trick of the Night, were less successful and unfortunately had less publicity. To some extent, the losing streak was due to the fact that Woodward was pregnant with her son Thomas and was unable to tour or physically promote the album or its subsequent singles. Despite the challenges, Bananarama reunited to begin work on the album Wow. The band's sound successfully shifted towards dance-oriented Europop under the direction of Pete Waterman. But the creative process of the project was often strained. Siobhan Fahey often clashed with Waterman over the direction of the project, while tension in the studio usually centered on the battle for dominance between Aitken and the trio. Wow was released on September 4th, 1987 by London Records. It topped the Australian area album charts for 1 week in June 1988, following the release of the third single from Wow. In early 1988, Faye, who had married Dave Stewart of the Eurythmics, left the band. Her last performance with the band was a rendition of Love in the First Degree at the Brit Awards in February 1988. After Fahey's departure in March 1988, Jackie O'Sullivan, former member of the Shillelagh Sisters, joined the band. But O'Sullivan was not able to replace Siobhan Fahey, all because Dallin and Woodward lost not just a fellow trio member, they lost a true friend. It was friendship that was the main source of inspiration for Bananarama, and Fahey's departure seemed to be an omen of future musical failures. Fahey created the Shakespeare Sister Project, which quickly gained popularity with hits such as Breakout. This project allowed her to realize her creative ambitions and achieve success in the solo arena. Jackie O'Sullivan's involvement lasted just a few years, and then she left the group to build a career as a casting manager. Sarah and Karen continued under the name Bananarama, and their musical career remained prominent despite the lineup changes. In 1997, the band reunited with Siobhan Fahey for a special performance at the Alternative Eurovision Song Contest, symbolizing their friendship and collaboration. Today, Bananarama continues its musical activities, planning the release of a new album and delighting fans with their classic hits. The band's story demonstrates how three ambitious girls from London were able to create a unique musical phenomenon that has remained in the hearts of fans around the world. Dear viewers, if you were a fan of the band Bananarama, then be sure to put a like under this video. Also, don't forget to write your favorite Bananarama song in the comments.